Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, we just want to welcome like Sarah Lewis. She's the outreach coordinator from Lutheran Services Columbia. And I was talking with her this morning. She was sharing a little bit with me about what is happening now and then we have Yvonne, and she was just telling me that Yvonne also is a developer of the refugee service, and she's a refugee herself. It's just wonderful. See, we're going to have so much information. I think I'm just going to enjoy them sharing. So we do partner with, excuse me, with Lutheran Service a lot because we do a lot of programs here at Living Springs to help them to implement those programs that they do. And it's so much needed because we know with everything that's going on within our present government that a lot of the funding has been lost, so they're having some difficulty with that and with their staff and people. So we definitely need this outreach that you did, that you guys are providing. So we're so grateful that you are doing that. Yes. So both welcome to Living Springs.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're so glad to be here, and we love this church. I mean, y'all have been helping us for years now. And so I remember when I first came here a year ago, and I was like, I can't believe that it's such a small church. Like, I thought it was a big church because they do everything. So we're so grateful. And my colleague Yvonne is, we worked together in the refugee services, and then a few months ago she transitioned to working with foster care services, still within Lutheran Services Carolinas. So she's going to share about the foster care program. I'm going to share about the refugee services. It's all within the same agency, but definitely Yvonne, if you have any questions about refugee services, she is well aware from a personal experience and also professionally, because she worked as an employment specialist for several years with our folks. So as you've seen, we have a little bit of, for some reason, the computer is not connecting to the big screen. You can hear the voices coming through, but the picture is not. So we have a couple of like short videos. I'm just going to show the first one and see how that works. I will put it on my computer on a big screen and hold it in the middle, but you'll at least be able to hear the words. Maybe that will be helpful. If it seems like it's not going well, we'll cut it and I'll just talk, and then I'll turn it over to Yvonne to talk about her program. So yeah. All right. So let's see how this will work. Okay, it's hard to see, but it says there are now more than over 100 million displaced individuals worldwide. It's a little hard. Can you sort of ish see? There's a person's face. Okay. It's okay. It's okay.
So when those refugees step off the airplane, they don't necessarily know our language or our culture. They don't know how things work in America.
Many of our clients who are fleeing war, they once had a complete life in their home country. They had jobs, they had friends, they had family, they had homes. And because of the particular conflict in their country, because of their particular political stance or religious background, they are forced to flee here to the U.S. and basically start over. They are starting over with the whole new life and having to navigate almost as if they are a child or a newborn, learning how to live all over again.
I came here on a program known as SIV. It is sponsored by U.S. governmental agencies to help Iraqis who support U.S. coalition forces and work for them. The reason they designed this program because there was many accidents of killing people who worked for the U.S. and threatened their life, so they just wanted to make sure that people they are working with them safe and secure.
Я решил приехать в Америку, так как в моей стране война и мой город захватили военные. Я убежал оттуда с моими детьми и женой. Долгое время я туда не мог возвратиться, и мои родственники, которые живут в данный момент в Каролине Южной, пригласили меня тут жить и решили мне помочь, чтобы я переехал. И таким образом я решил переехать сюда.
We lived for almost 20 years refugee in Zambia, Africa. And after that, we came here in America. There in Zambia refugee camp, life was not easy, it was difficult. And then my husband have to apply for us to come here. So that's why I applied, and then we came here in America. Lutheran Services, really, they were very supportive to us. They provided us guidance. As a refugee, you don't know the system here, you don't know the culture. They assigned someone to help us, and we were on direct call with them. Whenever I needed something or my children feel sick, I can call them.
As a volunteer, you do more than just the basic needs and helping them in what they need. You really get to know them. You become involved with their life, and it is just very special to know that you are more than just a person that's checking off a box.
What I want to say to Lutheran Service, they have done a very wonderful job to me and my family. And for that, I'm very thankful. And I appreciate, I and my family. And I will encourage them to continue to, as another people come again, let them welcome them very well. Let them continue doing a good job.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you. Okay. Now you can sit, and I'll introduce you in a minute. I'll just finish up with this part. Thank you for holding my computer. You're so nice. All right. So I know some of y'all were here last year when I talked. How many of y'all were here last year? Okay. So I'm not going to bore you with the same thing, even though I don't pretend to think that you remember every single thing, but it's fine. But I know last year I talked more in depth about who we serve, how they get here, all the process, the very detailed process of vetting overseas, the work with the State Department, the way the president assigns the numbers, how they get here to South Carolina. It's all by assignment, the different programs that we have, what we do, all of that. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's wonderful. We really appreciate it.
There's some daddy in here.
You'll hear about that later.
So I just kind of wanted to give you a little bit of updates of kind of where we are at this moment in time, because you're probably wondering about that. So as a very short recap, what we do in the New Americans Program is we are serving specific populations, and I'm not talking about populations from around the world like specific populations, but people with specific legal status, okay? And sometimes DSS thinks that we serve, or other places sometimes just assume we serve anyone that doesn't speak English, and they'll send us people that don't speak English, just like they'll do everything for you, and that's not the case. We are controlled by our federal and state programs to serve specific folks with specific legal status. And so, for example, we can't serve international students. We can't serve folks from other countries that are here on a work visa. That is not part of our programs. We serve what we call ORR eligible populations. So people that are eligible under the overseance of the Federal Department of Office of Refugee Resettlement. That's who we serve. And so those are folks that have refugee status, which is a permanent legal status, a path to citizenship. They arrive to the country on the invitation of the federal government. The State Department handles all of their travel. After the UN has done all the vetting overseas, they have received that refugee status because they have proven that their life is in danger because of persecution of some kind. Maybe it's religious, maybe it's political, maybe it's ethnic persecution. There's a lot of different kinds of persecution. That's why they've gotten that status. Not at all to dismiss or denigrate folks that are in a country that is experiencing war, but I always want people to know, just because your country, so when I say just, I'm not trying to say like it's not a big deal, but just because someone's country is in a war does not automatically grant someone refugee status. For example, our friends from Ukraine that came and that we have served them, that came on temporary status, they're not eligible for refugee status because they're not coming because of targeted persecution of their political beliefs or religious beliefs. They're coming to escape the war, and the U.S. government created a program a couple years back that was a temporary program where they could come, especially with sponsors. So most of them were coming with sponsors. Not everyone, but many people were having maybe a friend or maybe not someone they knew, but just a kind person who sponsored, paid for their tickets, did all of those initial services, got them housing, all of that. They came on temporary status, so humanitarian parolee status, not refugee status. And then that status has been, the government has extended that a couple times because we all hoped the war would be over sooner, right? And so initially it was a shorter status, like get them out, you know. But that's just an example, because I think a lot of people assumed like anyone where there's a war, you're just going to get refugees from there. I wish, you know, that was the case, but that's not how it works. So refugees, that's our largest population. That's the permanent status path to citizenship. So when their feet touch the ground in the United States, they are legal to work, they have a path to citizenship, they're eligible for a social security card, and within I think it was within a year they apply for a green card. But the green card for refugees doesn't make them more legal. They already have legal status. It's just that next path to the citizenship, which they can get with after 5 years. Okay, so that's our biggest population is refugees. We also serve asylees. That is also a permanent legal status, but you can't get refugee status when you're in the United States. You get that overseas. So sometimes someone might come to the U.S. maybe as a foreign student, and then everything blows up back home, and suddenly there's death threats on them, and they know that if they go back, you know, they have credible proof. If they go that, they'll be killed because of some form of persecution, right? So what they can do is they can apply for asylum, and that's going through a long process with an immigration lawyer. It takes a good amount of time. If they are granted asylum, that is a permanent status path to citizenship. We cannot serve them in the middle of that unless they had another status that was already making them eligible. Like if they're a foreign student getting asylum, we can't serve them until they receive asylum. And then when they receive asylum, we can serve them. Also, we serve humanitarian parolees, like I mentioned before. That's that temporary status, like the Ukrainians that I was talking about. We used to get more folks, especially from Cuba and Haiti, on that temporary status, and we can serve them while their temporary status is active. We can't serve them if it's if it has expired, but they can try to adjust their status with an immigration lawyer to extend or to get asylum. Unfortunately, maybe you've heard in the news, there's been a lot of changes with humanitarian parole. Some of the parole programs have been canceled. Some things are up in the air. There's so much up in the air. I was asking my boss, I was saying, what exactly should I say about, what's going on? Because there's so many changes. And he was like, there's just too much to try, and there's so many things that we're waiting on, if that makes sense. So right now, a lot of the parole programs have been winding down or canceled or paused. But if someone does have active parole, we can serve them. Also, we serve special immigrant visas. That is another permanent legal status that's just for people that served with the United States military in Iraq and Afghanistan. But they would come, similar to refugees, be assigned to us, just like the refugees are. We pick them up from the airport. Where's Marshall? Picks them up from the airport. Pastor Eric picks them up from the airport. And then we would serve them in normal times. We would serve them through the reception and placement program, that very intense 90-day program where y'all have probably had Karen ask you for supplies, the pots, the pans, the meal. That's the stuff that's like for refugees and SIVs. That's the program that they first get into that's very intense. And so we always need a lot of supplies when they arrive. Asylees and parolees. And also we do serve victims of human trafficking, but that is a very small population. We serve kind of in a more sensitive area. That would be if someone was trafficked to the U.S. from a foreign country, like to work as a business, you know, obviously being abused and things like that. The law enforcement would step in, deal with that, and then they would assign their case to us. That doesn't happen very often, but so the biggest, you know, population, like I said, is refugees. Right now, as you probably know, there's been a lot of changes. In January, maybe some of you got my email update a couple months ago, but in January, all of the arrivals that we had scheduled, and we had a ton of arrivals scheduled, coming through those same channels that I had mentioned before, you know, assigned by the U.S. State Department, all of that. Those arrivals were all canceled, and then the refugee admissions program was paused. And then also the funding for the people that had just arrived, you know, in the last month or two was impounded. So it was kind of like a three-pronged challenge that we were trying to face. Because as you know, if we don't have arrivals, and then if we have arrivals but there's no funding, I mean, that's a really bad financial situation for the agency. The agency, Lutheran Services Carolinas itself, and then our national agency, Global Refuge, decided, particularly LSC, decided we would absorb the blow. So we took that financial hit. So what we could have done is we could have said, well, we cannot serve these new arrivals because they have canceled this RMP program. We don't have the funding. Even though you're in the hotel without a job and you arrived last week and you don't have food stamps yet, we will walk away. Yes, we could have done that. But of course we didn't do that, right? So, but as you can imagine, that was a huge financial hit because not only were we taking care of the actual money to pay for food before the food stamps kick in and the money to pay case managers to do all those services. And for a little while, Global Refuge was able to help us out with some of the housing costs for the hotel, but not for long. So there was a lot of costs that the agency ate. It was a very hard time. We had 2 cuts for staff within a close amount of time because there was no money. So many of the programs had been cut, the federal and then it was like a couple weeks later, the other programs, the matching grant program, the PC program that's more like intensive case management, those programs were also discontinued. So the only programs we had left were the state programs, which the state programs don't have, that's more of the, it's just case management and employment. So the state programs run for 5 years, so we serve our clients for 5 years, but there's not a lot of financial help in those programs, right? And obviously we can't support our full staff on just a few programs, even though we had the same amount of clients, you know? So it was really, really sad, really hard. A lot of staff ended up transitioning to other jobs and stuff because there wasn't the security at our office. The community really did show up though. I've been so proud of Columbia. I cannot say enough about the churches that we already knew, and then new churches too, but honestly, it was different than in the Afghan crisis. In the Afghan crisis, it was like nobody knew that we were there, and then suddenly everybody was helping, you know, for at least a little while, because it was on the news. This time, it wasn't a whole lot of new connections. There was some, but it was mostly like, it felt like your family was coming around you in a crisis, you know? So in some ways it was actually more special, you know, than getting a ton of people that were like, I heard you need help and what do you do? You know, this was a group, you know, people that already had just loved us and walked with us and already knew what we were doing and were just like, how can I help? So it was, I would say in such a difficult, hard season, there was also so much encouragement to see what everyone was willing to do. People just stepped in and helped so much with furniture. We had to get them out of the hotel as fast as we could into houses. So we didn't have time to get furniture, had no money. You know, everyone was just helping. People were giving gift cards, you know, because we needed needed food gift cards until the food stamps kicked in. People gave supplies, people helped so much with driving clients because we had 1 million appointments to take them to and half the staff, you know. And so one church, they were doing a circle of welcome, and they were finished with their family, and they said, how can we help? And I said, can you just drive? And they've put in almost 100 hours in 2 months of driving clients to appointments. So we're just so grateful the way that people showed up. For World Refugee Day, which was 2 weeks ago, we didn't have any, we had $100. That was it to spend on. It's usually an event for 300 people. It's a big highlight for our folks, our clients. And so I went and asked some of our neighborhood churches in particular, and they all banded together, the churches in the neighborhood around LSC. They all jumped in. They hosted the thing for free. Shannon Baptist paid for Pelicans. We had all these folks from the community, including the sheriff's department, the fire truck, Abraham the Camel, that came to help us for free. But also the stuff that normally we would have paid for, like for restaurants and stuff. Restaurants donated food for the regional food tables, and it was just such a beautiful expression of the neighborhood was here to welcome, and it wasn't politically motivated. It was just like, these are our friends, it wasn't like people were doing it because they're mad or anything like that, and I just love that. So we're super grateful for that. Right now at this time, it is hard because we don't have new arrivals. We're waiting. We're hoping that new arrivals will come eventually. So right now we're running the state programs, like I said, employment and case management. There was a legal victory for I cannot remember, Pasito versus something, but it was related to the arrivals that had been canceled. So all those, there were thousands of arrivals that were already, ready to go. The U.S. government had accepted them. Everything was done, and then they were canceled. So there was a legal battle about that, and it did run in favor of having those arrivals being needed to be brought to the U.S. Obviously, with anything legal, you never know when that will happen, right? Or like, is there going to be a challenge, or something like that. So we're kind of in that waiting stage. We don't know. We hope, we have hope that eventually some will come through. Also, special immigrant visas, they are still allowed to come through just on their own steam. So we did have a family that joined their husband that was here on that special immigrant visa, and then they come in as walk-ins, if that makes sense. So we have had a few walk-ins. We've had some people from other states that came as refugees to other states that have come over to get our services, moved here. That's called secondary migrants, so we can help them. So we're getting a little bit of newbies, but not like we were. We're kind of waiting to see. So we're really hopeful. I think the biggest thing I worry about as far as church involvement or circles of welcome is if it's going to be so long until arrivals come in, I'm people that want to help, they're going to get involved in other things, which is great. But it's I hope that it will happen in time, because we have so many community partners that are on a rhythm of, wanting to, okay, the next family, And so that's my hope, that it will happen before that momentum goes away. But we're still working. We're still here. I always tell our folks, our clients are fine. Actually, the staff was not fine. The staff absorbed the blow, right? So the clients, nobody went hungry, nobody went homeless. Everybody got all the services they needed. They just got a little less financial support. But as you may remember, it wasn't much to begin with anyway. It was challenging, but we absorbed the blow, and so did the community. So they're okay. All our programs are focused on self-sufficiency anyway, so our clients just had to do that a little bit faster, and that's not bad for anyone. It's part of the American experience. So while we are heartbroken about the situation, the fallout on our clients is they were well cared for here in South Carolina, here in Columbia with LSC. I know there are some refugee resettlement offices that did have to close pretty quickly, and some clients that are not okay across the country. But for our folks here, it's a much better story, if that makes sense. A couple of other things before I introduce Yvonne. I just wanted to, there's a few numbers that you might be interested in. Since October 1st, that's the beginning of our fiscal year, we resettled 180. We were on pace to resettle 500 new refugee arrivals when those were canceled. We served, since October 1st, across all programs, we served 705 clients in multiple ways. And then we did receive, a lot of folks that people just showed up with in-kind donations, with with money, with things like that, and so really encouraging numbers on that end. And my boss said, if you're interested in, if you have specific legal questions, or some specific questions like that, I do have this card over there. His name is Seth Hirschberger. He's happy to try to answer some specific questions, but he told me, don't even try to get into all the things. I know that Marshall was asking about the tweet that was put out that basically slandered the Lutheran. It said the Lutherans, but Lutheran Services Carolinas is not the only Lutheran agency, right? There's a lot of other Lutheran agencies across the country that do refugee resettlement. That basically, the tweet was like a retweet from a few years ago that said that Lutheran Services was money laundering. There is no proof of that. No proof was offered, if that makes sense. So I know our president did have a specific statement, and basically what he said was, we're audited every year, LSC's audited every year, but then the national agency that used to be called Lutheran Immigration Refugee Services, it's now Global Refuge, they're audited every year. They work directly with the State Department. Yvonne can tell you, audits in our little office are no fun. The amount of financials and receipts and everything we're giving from on the ground, plus that goes from, on the level in Salisbury, then it goes to the top. I mean, there's so many audits going on. It's not, and the numbers are very clear on, what we give to refugees, what comes in for admin. There's not an overabundance of money to launder, even but anyway, I think from
maybe we should take some deals with some gangs so that we take their money and use it for refugee services. I mean, that's money laundering, isn't it?
So our president, was just very clear on there is only proof of auditing. There is no proof of money laundering, and so a baseless accusation. But
yeah.
you know how some people you just see things and you say things. So anyway, I did want to say a couple of ways that people can still get involved. Right now, obviously, we don't have arrivals, so we're not calling on y'all for the bus or for the meals or for all of the supplies that we normally would ask for. But we do have tutoring opportunities. I'm going to leave the papers here. Tutoring and mentoring, you're not helping with services, you're not driving them to doctor's appointments. We're very clear, we want it to be very boundaried as far as the client does not think you are their personal taxi or their, but you're going to their home 4 hours per month, so you can divide it as you will, to help them with English. And you're not necessarily teaching them how to read, you're helping them with survival English. And so I'm going to leave these are few examples of what we do, teaching them their address, the names of their family members, the birth dates of their family members, teaching them basic vocabulary, this is, we teach them directions and how to call 911. Here is a home problem. This is one of the resources we use. How to report home problems. I have a problem. My shower is not working. The heat is not working. I live in apartment 207. A lot of it is teaching them how to, advocate for themselves in those very basic ways. What are the names of the schools that your kids go to? Most of our refugees are like, I don't know, and I'm like, that's not acceptable. You're the parent. Yeah, exactly. And then, what is your address? All these things that are really life and death, matters of very emergency importance for our folks. And so you can onboard as a tutor or a mentor. We'd love to have you. We still have a steady stream of those volunteers, and we match them, and that's just another way that our folks are feeling the love of the community and friendship and a tangible help. As far as with gifts, right now we are asking for mostly gift cards, like food line gift cards, some Walmart gift cards. Karen, I think, is going to do maybe a Christmas in July thing, but also bus passes, 31-day bus passes. We used to be able to buy those and give those to our clients, but that's not the case anymore. So we're really appreciative of that. But yeah, so right now that is refugee services. I'm going to turn it over to Miss Yvonne for, let's see if we can play your video, Yvonne. Okay, and while I'm getting up the video, does anyone have any questions about? Yes, sir.
What about the threat of deportation? Do the ones that are already here, are they, you know, is there a possibility that, you know, something could happen and they end up with all this ISIS stuff that's going on?
No, sir. So that is, I'm sorry, I am listening. I don't know why I'm doing this. So actually,
Where'd Chase go?
our folks, that are here, like I mentioned before, the only ones that have less secure status would be the ones with humanitarian parolee, that temporary status. And that temporary status can change, can run out, and as you've seen in the news, sometimes has been canceled. That's the only status that is in, I would say, more precarious. Does that make sense? So for refugees, asylees, SIVs, that is a permanent legal status. That is a path to citizenship. ICE is not looking for them. That's not who this is. They're completely legal to be here and path to citizenship. Now, there's always the option for the U.S. government, if someone committed a terrible crime while on a permanent status, that status could be in danger. You know, they could be sent back or something like that. But generally speaking, I mean, it's very rare for refugees to be committing crimes. I'm not saying, you know, people are people, but for refugees, usually they're just focused on taking care of their family. They're not getting involved in, you know, terrible crimes or things like that. So that would be the only reason for someone to be have danger of their status if they got into serious legal trouble. You know, because they're not citizens yet, but they do have permanent legal status, and so they're on that path to citizenship. So you know, if someone was like, well, I'm just going to flout the law and I'm going to, you know, do bad things, or I'm going to neglect my children and get a bunch of DSS reports, things like that, that could endanger their status. But unless that is the case, which is normally not the case, our folks are fine, except for the ones that had that we were serving through the parole programs. Those ones would be, that is more precarious. We do have an in-house legal program, just to let you know. I'm going to leave the flyers here, but if you have folks that you know that you have questions or whatever, we do offer some legal help to the outside community as well. The folks in the legal program are not lawyers, they're accredited representatives, so there's certain things they cannot do. But they will let you know. You can always email and say, like, I have someone who this, are you able to help? And they'll say no if they can't. But especially some of the ways they've been helping is the parole programs is like, if there's a possibility to, and like I said, I'm not the legal person, but like, if there is a way to make that status, to apply for a more permanent status, they're helping people do that. They can't fill out asylum applications and things like that, but they're helping with some of those questions. So, all right, Yvonne. So, do you want me to start with the video?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the video, I have asked my computer many times to open it in a bigger window, and it won't.
You won't?
It won't. So it's small, but at least you'll see it. And like I said, Yvonne, we worked together. She did come as a refugee herself from the country of Burundi with her 2 beautiful children and 1 in the belly, and he is now, how old is Israel?
6.
6.
He's gonna be 7.
Yeah, she has the best kids.
Yeah.
And so she'd
I
love
tell you my story.
to talk to you about foster care, but let me see if I can.
The reason why I wanted to become a foster parent because I wanted.
There is no greater difference that you can make than changing the outlook for one child. When you can change the life of one child, you're changing the world around that child forever.
I love being a foster parent. The reason why I wanted to become a foster parent because I wanted to give back to the community. Kids just so amazing. When I was growing up, I was raised by the whole neighborhood that always gave back, always looked out for me and my brothers and sisters to make sure that we were safe. That's all. Children just want people just to love them and just understand them.
Yeah, it's just a short video for foster care. My name is Yvonne Songolo. So I used to work with Sarah in the refugee program, and I came in 2018 as a refugee. So sometimes they say, oh, Trump don't like refugee, but I came when he was a president. So it's so hard for me to understand because I come right away when he was a president. So yes, I come with 2 little kids. Was 2 years and 3 years, and I was pregnant for 2 months. So I just found out I was pregnant before I come, like 2 weeks before I come here. So I'm just gonna start with refugee because it has been my life. Then foster care, I just started this position in February. February? Yeah. So yeah, it was so hard for me, and the reason I started with refugee, it's just because Sarah, she was talking about it, and it's just in me, and it's part of my life, being here and having volunteer and cycle of welcome. So it was so hard for me when I get here. No friends, you don't know anybody. The reason I say address, one time I lost. I get lost on the streets because I didn't know my address. And it was in summer hot. I don't know where to go. So it was my first time. Lutheran Services gave me the training one time. And the second time I said, let me take the bus. So I said, leave me to CVS Broad River. I was living in Colony East. So they stopped me there. My phone was not paid. I couldn't call anyone. So I stayed there at CVS Broad River, close to Dollar Tree. Sitting there, I'm like, which way I need to go? This way, this way, this way. I see many ways, like 4 ways. So I don't know where I'm gonna go. My phone, I can't call. I don't know my address. I just know I live in Colony East. So with the big dress there, strawberry there, I'll be asking people. My English was not good. Because, do you know what is Colony East? Everybody run. I'm like, no one even wanna be next to me. I'm like, why? Why everybody's just running? I'm just asking where is Colony East, you know? Until I see one person who speaks French and he see, like, I'm not from here, was like, where do you, because I speak French too. He asked me, where do you live? I say in Colony East. He said, oh, where do Africans live? I say, yeah. And then he took me. And then after that, I was like, after I tell my story to Lutheran Services, they say, how if he take you somewhere? That time, I'm just innocent. I have no idea what is going on in this country, that someone can kidnap you, someone can do some horrible thing, you know? So I just go, take me. He dropped me home. I say, my phone was not paid. Oh, he take me. By the 2 months, he paid 2 months phone. So it was, I didn't even know him. But that really touched my heart because I didn't know I need to pay my phone every month. Because I was not used to that I have to pay my phone every month. And that time I wasn't having even a job, no car. So then every time when I start working with Lutheran Services, everything I tell my clients, know your address. Please, know your address, because it was so hard for me. I was like, how if, yes, everybody, every client I have, know your address, please, because it's so hard. No one gonna know where you live. Even if you go to police, they're not gonna know where you live. They don't know your home, you know, especially I know Colony East, at least. So, yeah. That was really, really hard for me because I was not used to this long address, and I didn't know I had to know my address in my head. Because in Africa we don't use GPS. You just keep going and you take the bus, drop me somewhere. We don't use I never use GPS until I come here. So, and we don't have social security. No one care about social security. So that's why when Lutheran Services, you know, help us be like, be careful with your social security. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone your social security on the phone. You know, we need all those trainings, like how to navigate life here, because we don't know anything going on here. Cards, you need to keep your. I never have a bank card until I come here. ID, those stuff. I mean, have your date of birth in your head. go to the hospital, asking your kid's date of birth. No one asks you your date of birth. You start first grade, that's it. No one will ever ask you, when did you born? Like I will ask my mom, when did I born?
That's right.
When the beans was growing.
It works for her, right?
Yeah, she'll be like, oh, I remember I was growing the beans and then I give you birth, and sometimes they're gonna be, oh, when this person was a president. I mean, they don't really care about the dates, like. So it was hard. They need to know date of birth, name of kids, first name, last name, don't even mix it up. So it's like everything in details you need to know: address, your name, where you live, keep your social security, keep this and this. Oh, until now I'm not organized yet, to be honest. that is the secret. So yeah, Lutheran Services helped me a lot. I was crying every day. Say, please God, I know you're the same God I had in Burundi. I know you're the same God you are in Africa. I know you are here with me. Send me people to help me. Send me your angels, like you feed Elijah, like you was there. Please, I need to see you. Because the same God who bring me here, I know you see me. I was crying every day because I was like, this is not life. Just stay in the apartment. I'm used to go out, see people going around, It was so hard. I need people come talk to me. But yeah, thanks God I have circle of welcome volunteers, right? Take me to the appointment, and with 2 little baby and pregnancy, I was not eating, everything was horrible. So they was there for me, inviting me to their Thanksgiving, Christmas. I feel like now I have family that love me even more than my family. You're so special to me than even, I never have someone who loves me like they do. So yeah, it's my church now. So they have been my family. Like I have grandma, I have my dad, I have uncles, I have handyman. So everything. And my co-workers have been a blessing. They receive me as a refugee when I come. They become my co-workers. So we're like family. Sarah babysits for me sometimes. So I am so blessed and thankful to have people around me that show me love. The things you do is so important in someone's life. It's just maybe you save a client who cannot speak English, but in their deep heart, they really appreciate you. Like, I need someone even to come to talk to me. Like Sarah, she say English mentor. So when they say mentor, yes, please come. I need the mentor to come. Just stay there with me. We need visitors. And I'm not used to stay home with no visitors. You will see someone just bumping in the house to visit. And you just need to see them. Like, someone come visit me. You don't have anyone, And you just feel alone, all the stuff. It's really so hard. Like, need trainings to know many small things. Until now, I'm still asking advice. Sarah, how can I say this? Sarah, how much I need to buy for grade? Everything I still call Sarah. Like, so I'm going to visit this person. What should I do? Because it's everything new for me. Until now, I'm still learning. And I have been here 7 years now. May 30, I turned 7 years. Yeah. So, thanks God, I didn't have bad experience. I'm so thankful for my cycle of welcome and volunteers who was there for me in time of need. I pray for them. Oh my God, even now I have gifts for Father's Day in my cars and gift cards I'm taking for, people who was there for me. We're still friends, we're still connected, and I love them so much. And I've been seeing you too most of the time. Some faces here, I've been seeing them at Lutheran Services helping with refugees. is so much blessed. Like, they appreciate it. Yeah. So I remember the first time I meet my psycho worker, he come with me, Steve. He come. My son have a surgery for at night. When I come here, this surgery, I know he had issue with his nose since I was in Burundi, but I didn't have money to do the surgery, and the doctor in Burundi scared me. Oh, your son one day he will die. I'm like, he will die sleeping because he's not. You need to find money to do surgery. So I was just crying in Burundi because I didn't have money to do the surgery. And thanks God, when I come here, that was the first thing they did. But was horrible when I was in Burundi because I couldn't afford it. And I don't have money for that. I don't even know where I'm going to find money to do that surgery. So the volunteer who come take me to the hospital because I was not sleeping like all night. He got surgery for my son. I'm still sleeping. He's the one who is knocking on my door. Yvonne, wake up! It's time to go to surgery, you know. So we're bad with times too. And I know you know that. You have been experiencing that. It's not like it just we are not used to be on time, you know. It just no one asks you have to be this place at this time. It never happens. Like no one gonna tell you have to be this place at this time. Like you just hear everything is in time. So I learned to be on time. One time when I have my OBGYN appointment and I was late 30 minutes. I was like, you cannot. I already take 2 buses. I said, you cannot take me? No. You late 30 minutes. I said, please, I took 2 buses and drove. I come all the way this. No, ma'am. You have to have that appointment. So from that time, I'm like, I will never be late. I will never be late. But that time, like, the volunteer come, knock on my door. You late for a point. Thanks God, he know that we're not gonna be on the time. He come early. So he's the one who come early. And this is really sacrifice. I cannot do it to someone right now. Like I'm not even. He come early, took me with the kid. Oh really? I said, oh, put clothes on right and let's go. So we went to the surgery. He stayed with me all day. I was like, I was used to like someone just drove me and go and come back, pick me up. But that day, this person stayed with me all day, like just talking, and I have sometimes ask questions, the things I need to know, you know. And it was so great until I get home, and then next day I was like, yeah, I'm one of your psycho workers. I'm like, why you didn't tell me all day we've been together? So yeah, it's such nice thing to know, you have someone next to you, like time like that, you have surgery, no one is there for you, it's just you and your kid, you just feel miserable. Like, you don't have any support, you know. And the things you do, you need to go to the grocery store. I didn't have, can you believe, with 3 big car seats, who gonna take me to the store? No one. You have to take someone with big hats to come in, help you. It was so hard for me to go to groceries. I mean, it was really hard. But thanks God, you know, with Cycle of Welcome and volunteers, you are the best. And sometimes when our people like, oh, your friends are from your church, I say, yes, they are my family. Even if I get married, you're gonna ask them first. They are my parents. That is my dad right there. So, yes. Oh, now I work.
I just want to play.
Now I work with foster care.
I just want to make sure you had time to talk.
Sorry, I'm not gonna take now. And yeah, thank you so much for everything you do for refugees. It's so helpful, and may God bless you for that. I'm telling you, if you have any question, I can tell you by my experience being a refugee and being employment special, with refugees. Yes. So with with the issue have been coming through with the funding, as Sarah say, yeah, I switched my job to foster care recruiter. Yeah, you can always support me with events, and if you know some events, or if you wanna support the foster parents that are fostering. Like for my church, we did something like Abounding Love. It's just a ministry that supports the foster parents. They don't foster kids, but they support the foster parents, put together like clothing for those parents who do fostering, to give them something they need to use for those kids they are taking care of. There is many ways you can help with foster care without having a child. Just help the parent who is fostering, because they use their financial, they don't get any EBT or anything to help the kids. At least those steps spending check, how they call it, stipend check, yeah, which is not much. It's just for thanks, like taking care of those kids. Yeah, that is the other way you can involve with foster care if you are interested, and if you know someone who wanna be a foster parent, I'm your person. my cat is here. Yes.
What's the need like? Is there a large need for foster parents?
So much, yes, especially in Richmond and Columbia.
Yeah.
So much. So I work with 10 county, includes this area. They are in so much in needs of foster parents, especially in the Richmond County. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the Columbia area. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you know any event, shoot me a message. Hey, did you see this event? You need to go recruit some people to be a foster parent. That would be helpful. And
so you're talking specifically also about connections, right?
Yes,
so
connection.
Like if y'all have any connections with a church event or a speaking opportunity, or if you're doing like tabling events, Yvonne would love to be invited, even just to make those connections. Because I think right, you said what you're facing is trying to make connections just to get the word out.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you. That's all.
I'll make this a formal invitation to at the South Carolina Lutheran Men Convention.
Yes, please.
In February, that come and set up
Yeah.
foster.
That would be so great and helpful.
And it'll be held here.
Oh, thank you so much.
In February. I already gave Sarah some information, but also if you want to uplift the forest foster care.
Yes, sir. Yes, that would be so helpful.
That'd be great.
Thank you so much.
Well, we appreciate y'all so much. Thank you. Your prayers. And feel free to grab